Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. Welcome to a very special bonus episode of Films in Black and White, everybody. We are happy to be here, and we just got done covering Space Jam: A New Legacy, not to let everybody know about the movie magic, but we also wanted to cover Loki because it's important and it's exciting, and we didn't want to be constrained with a time limit, so it's just easy for us to say, let's put this and make it its own thing. So we are going to skip all of the fancy catch that quotable and barbershop summary and all that. We are just going to get into it. So gentlemen, last week episode 6 of Loki dropped.
Yes.
What has been your thoughts on the series, and what has been your thought on episode 6 specifically? Whoever wants to go first, just somebody jump in.
Brian, kick us off.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the Loki series. So I think when we started this year, January 2020, and I saw the slate of everything, Loki was on the bottom of my interest. Absolutely. It was dead last. I didn't know what the hook was. I was really amped for WandaVision. Even before the first episode, I thought that was going to be something really special. And then even knowing that eventually we would get a Spider-Man movie, I for sure thought, there's no way Loki is going to enter the top 3. And now I am talking about it, that is a distinct possibility. We are halfway through the calendar year, and Loki it does a lot of things I didn't think it would do. And that specifically is messing with timelines, which I think has been untapped for Marvel. And then the other thing is making Loki more than just this punchline, not really a punchline, but more than just this anti-hero villain who's always just kind of in the way. You never really know which way he's going to go. That's his shtick, right? And they made him someone remorseful, and that was compelling. And I'm surprised. I'm speaking here just in awe of the things I'm saying about this, because 6 months ago, I would have been like, no, Loki's it's going to be Tom Hiddleston being like, oh, what am I going to do next? You don't know. And this show instead was like, what if there was an agency that made you reflect on every single bad choice you've ever made? What does that make you as a person? And you're like, oh no.
God damn, Marvel, calm down.
Yeah.
I just got aroused.
Yeah, that
was it. That did it right there.
I agree.
I mean, that was it for me. I mean, this just jumped out at me. It is in the running for the top 3 this year for sure.
Brian, I could not agree more. I will say this to kind of back up where you were at, because I had the same sentiment.
Sure.
I always used to put Loki on the same tier before this series started as Jack Skellington. I didn't get the appeal. I didn't understand people who would tattoo him on their body.
You're right.
I didn't fucking get it. It was what is the appeal of this? What is the point of this villain? I don't get it at all. But now they've been able to take something that I didn't understand and now make me go oh no, that's awesome, because his character development, his ability to feel remorse and to reflect, and then again, like you said, fucking with timelines. I am 100% here for it, and also that score. The score of this show,
it did things to me.
It was every time I hear it, I get excited.
Oh my God.
I was severely turned on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Doesn't take much for me, y'all.
Yeah, well, you know what? Everybody's got to own their own body.
Natalie Holt. Natalie Holt was the composer, I believe, and arranger.
Honestly, I love that. Yeah, she was great. I think for me, so just going into where the ranking thing is, Loki was definitely not last on my list, but it was second to last. Okay. And I did think exactly what Brian explained. I thought it was just Loki jumping timelines, Loki, just be causing a whole slew of mess of not knowing what he's going to do next.
Yes.
WandaVision was last on my list. And I had no interest in WandaVision because I never liked Wanda Maximoff as a character, as they had her in Age of Ultron, introduced in Age of Ultron and stuff like that.
I absolutely understand that.
Nothing was compelling to me about that character. Especially when they killed her brother. I was like, well, that's kind of like, it doesn't match the timeline of things in the comic book world, but
and there was always a push and pull there too. Like that was a source of her.
Right. And so for me, WandaVision was last, but Loki was definitely second to last for me.
Right.
And I'll tell y'all what the first one was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that Falcon and the Winter Soldier ended up being dead last. WandaVision was first before. Now Loki's first. WandaVision is the next best, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is dead last for me. And Loki just it covered new area. It did exactly what it was supposed to do as a Marvel, as this new beginning. As Kevin Feige, he said that this phase 4 is going to be filled with new beginnings. And for you to kick it off with Loki, the guy who lost, the guy who was the butt of everybody's joke, the guy who, you get him sometimes in Thor, you enjoy the relationship, but you don't know if he can really carry a movie on his own. Tom Hiddleston is a great actor, but you don't know if Loki is a character with depth to carry a whole series by himself.
Yes.
And so you get to see this deeper level with Loki and this realization. And I felt bad for the motherfucker. Like at the end of the day,
at the end of the first episode.
I felt bad. I felt bad.
By the way, I like that to make you feel that way, and me too. And I feel like a lot of people share the sentiment to get your writing to a point that it is so efficient, concise, and heartfelt, and strikes a chord with you in like less than an hour for a character that has been in multiple movies.
For sure.
That is impressive and a Herculean effort. I like,
oh, absolutely.
I don't know how else to describe it. It's momentous. Like
a credit to the production and writing of it all.
Yeah.
You were able to elicit that response from people, because it's in the first episode, as he is quickly spoilers. If you have not watched
we're gonna spoil Loki here.
Loki at all, you've avoided it right now. Like, just put a pause in this, pin it, come back and listen to it after, and also just go watch it. Like, stop, turn this off.
What are you doing here?
Why are you?
That first episode when he's watching all his death and he has that like existential response to it all, I was like, Jesus, that is some dread that I don't think. I mean, Tom Hiddleston can act the fuck out of this. Man. Like, it's been awesome.
So, I mean, you see, it's the idea of this shift in Loki's character that you can physically see, and through dialogue you can see and hear and feel. Because when he first gets to the TVA, he's telling I'm Loki. The gods are fake. All of this, like, your gods are fake. This is fake. I am a god. Do you not know who I am? And literally, when they showed the Infinity Stones were paperweights.
Yes.
It kind of set the tone early for what this was about to be. Because
that's a great point.
When you look at like those that, when they make that reference, like, oh, these are paperweights, these don't really mean anything. When you get to the conclusion and the finale, y'all, you literally see they proved that shit was minor compared to what is coming up next. You wanted to top Thanos? This is the fucking way that you do it. You have to do it this way.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I completely agree. Completely agree that the threat that they've set up is so much more significant than what that ever could have been.
I feel like this is a good time to talk about how I'm not going to find it at the moment, but I do believe there is a quote from Kevin Feige saying like, oh, the shows are going to be their own thing. They're going to weave into the movies, and the movies are their own thing. And at this point, I don't know if I would say that to somebody, because
I wouldn't either.
This is so, even just that first episode of like, oh, these Infinity Gems, like they're nothing. And it sets the stage for like, wait, what is the power then? Like, and I feel like if you're doing the MCU now, you got to commit. You got to commit to the shows and the movies, because you're going to get left behind now.
And even to that, and even kind of jumping to episode 6,
let's do it.
They've now made it so that way you can have them each be their, you can have it so that they can each be their own thing, because they've branched off into their separate stuff. But but I would agree with you, Brian. Like, I don't think, especially maybe after episode 3, they can be separate of this, maybe. But episode 1 is, no, you just got done watching Endgame, right? Yeah, that shit don't matter anymore. Hope you're ready. Strap in.
Hope you mourned over Tony. But
Hope you mourned. His sacrifice is kind of like, snapped it, and they don't really matter. But there you have it. So that's, I think that's, it's pretty nuts how how they've been able to shift those gears so quickly. I do think though that I don't want us to jump from like season 1 and 6 because there's a whole other slew of characters in there that are really important. What do you all think of Sylvie?
Sophia DiMartino.
Yep, Sylvie Laufey's daughter. Because for those of you who don't know Norse culture,
or maybe you just need a recap.
The sons take their dad's name. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so what did you think of her as a character, and how did you like how she was introduced into the show? Thoughts on that, and just kind of going that route.
This show is nothing without Sylvie and everything that Sophia put into this role. Because as much as you need Tom Hiddleston and what we knew, you also get this fresh take on a Loki, and a perfect example that everybody's not going to be the same when it comes to this introduction of variants in this multiverse timeline.
Yep.
And you just cannot have one. There are two sides of the same coin. In acting and in the way that the characters were written, they just had a chemistry that just worked. Not to mention, she is gorgeous. And, I don't want to just keep it to just the physical part, but like she can act. She did very well in that. It didn't end like I thought it was going to be. I thought she was going to become the Enchantress. But turns out she just was, because they kept hinting, I'm going to enchant it. I'm just going to enchant it.
That's a great point.
She's going to be the Enchantress, but it didn't go that way, which is fine because the way that they set up the character, Sophie in the end had to make the hard decision. To basically, she wanted her full revenge and she wanted to kill Kang. Well, He Who Remains. She wanted to kill He Who Remains.
She wanted to kill Mortis, which is a version of Kang because of complicated Marvel shit. But yes,
and just Leslie
was it? But yeah, we can get into that later.
Right. But also the other parts of this cast, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who played Ravonna. Owen Wilson did a great job in this damn. Owen Wilson, I gotta give him props. He doesn't seem like he keeps up with Marvel movies, but he damn sure held his own in this.
I read an interview where he said he's like, I haven't watched a single one. So like somebody had to give him a crash course in like 20 Marvel movies before he started filming this.
And he did it.
I think it works for the character that for Morbius. I think it works because if you've watched Owen Wilson in any of the like Bottle Rocket, or if you've watched him in the Royal Tenenbaums or any of those style movies, he's always very like sarcastic but very deep. So I think he was built for this role of being someone who was I can sympathize with you and I can make my point through humor, but I also know when it's time to turn it on and to be serious in this particular moment. So yeah, man, he nailed it. I loved his character. I gotta be honest.
Blew away my expectations.
Yeah. I mean, when he gets pruned, I was legitimately sad. I was like,
I was shocked.
Damn it. Like I was just shocked and sad.
So, oh my gosh. I mean,
my favorite character.
That was episode. I think I want to say that was episode 4.
That was the end of 4.
It was the end of 4. Oh my!
Because 5 is where they trick the smoke monster, and then 4 is where they all. Yep.
Now, I mean, Jonathan Majors.
Yes. Talking about Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan motherfucking Majors. Now I heard this guy improvised his scene.
Wow,
Jesus.
As far as like the dialogue was there, right? That they gave him, but standing on the table, his mannerisms and all of that. Well, so he also voiced the Android version of the TVA gods as well.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. So he supplied the voice for them. And then he also, it was said that he improvised that entire scene where he's standing on the table, all of his movements, all of his actions was just him. And he really dived into this character. This was the moment. Like Loki was good, But it gave Marvel. I text Doug because Brian hadn't watched it yet. I text Doug.
We had a whole
and I said
chat.
that I said Marvel pulled a reverse fuck you.
Yeah.
Because while for WandaVision, they were like, oh, Mephisto, Mephisto, Mephisto. And we get to the end and was like, oh, gotcha, motherfuckers. No Mephisto.
Yeah.
This one was like, I literally said, there's no way they're going to introduce Kang or Kang the Conqueror in this fucking show.
Agree.
Yeah.
Because nobody was paying attention.
I said that on this podcast too. I will eat that crow. I said, like, there's no way they're going to do it. Like, it's too big of a character. Well,
I was wrong.
I was very wrong too.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right though. Like, this is a you all think of how this is gonna work. Y'all don't know shit. We're gonna do this exactly when we need to, how we need to, and when we need to. Like, it does not matter. Like, we run the table, and this is just I kind of knew that there were some things from doing research that I was like, I could not think of a better plan B than Kang. But and here's the other thing. If that's him improvising, holy shit, when he actually has lines as Kang the Conqueror, dude, he's gonna go somewhere with this that I think we're not ready for. Like, he's just such a phenomenal actor.
And backing up Marcus here, like, I think I read a similar piece, but it's like basically most of the stuff at the table, like, he was just doing stuff that they were not ready for. And that is what sells the finale for me. Yeah. I feel like Loki gets upstaged in his own show in the finale, but honestly, I'm okay with that because it breaks so many Marvel MCU cliches like at once. We don't have a CGI fist fight in the air with buildings being destroyed. That is gone. There's not the big reveal is the big reveal and the info dump, which is a little bit tropey, but it was kind of subverted for me because it was like, usually when the hero hears that, like, it was you all along, right? WandaVision, she's like, I'm gonna fight back and we're gonna set it right. And this was like, oh no. What do we do? And that was where the conflict came from, was Loki and Sylvie being like, can we just like think about this for a second? There wasn't a clear-cut way to solve that problem. And I feel like it broke two of those tropes right away, which made it so compelling to me.
Absolutely. That was a great way to word that, Brian. That was
absolutely
really
great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, here's my question to you all in that same guise of episode 6. What choice are you making? If you are Sylvie, and which side of this are you on? Are you team Sylvie or are you team Loki in this example?
This is a hard decision for me because I feel like to take the responsibilities after hearing him say, I did not like this, or I did not, like, I'm ready to, basically he was ready to die. He was ready to die and he was ready to give it all up. I don't know. Do I want to put myself in a position to then be him and feel what he feels? Because at some point I'm going to be on the other end of that. Yeah. But also, I don't know if I need to release a timeline, a multiverse. Like, that seems chaotic.
Yeah.
Because I feel as like Sylvie, and the reason why I can't completely side with her, she was blinded by her revenge. And the only one that learned their lesson was Loki, which I get is the whole plot of the whole thing.
That is phenomenal. Yes.
If I have to be somebody, I'd rather be Loki in my realization of life than be Sylvie, who's blinded and became Loki. Essentially, at the end of the day, she became who Loki was, and Loki evolved into this different character. So I think that I would side with Loki more because of the extra shit that I got out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Brian?
I am absolutely stuck on the fact that Loki in that sequence was the only one that was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Or just had some development. That's a great call out. I mean, you can talk about Mobius, but that's more of a revelation. He didn't really grow. Like, he was but it doesn't really matter. Is it him at the end of the day? We'll get back to that. But I think for me, knowing that whoever this guy is, Immortus, Kang, whoever you are, you're clearly manipulating the timeline. There are lives at stake that are just gone. Like, the timeline is just one circle which is not its natural state. And I guess if the choice is between working for the dictator and hoping I can make a difference, or taking my chances with a multiverse war, but there's free will, I think I'm gonna pull a Sylvie. I'm gonna go for it.
Interesting. That is a good point too.
Okay.
That's a good, because Ravonna says that before she walks out, I'm going to go find free will.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, Brian. What about you?
Very good point.
Yeah, Doug, what would you do?
The adage, I would always rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Interesting.
Keeps coming back to my head. Like, I would rather play with the rules that at least I understand than the potential of it going off the rails. And I feel like, knowing that, I feel like I would more than likely side with Loki in this, of saying,
interesting.
At least I know what I'm getting here, as opposed to once he's not there, or once someone, whether that's him now and me later, once there's no guard at the tower, I don't know what's coming. And it could be so much worse. Like, separate the fact that we could be getting another version of he who remains, who's worse. We never know that. But if he's the only one keeping this together without it going into 1,000 different directions, there are some things that I'm like, those 1,000 different possibilities could be so much worse than what we're dealing with.
That's absolutely fair.
So,
you have no idea what's on the other side of that door. You know what's on the other side of
But
so
I think it's interesting.
I do think that Loki's thing was he didn't even want to rule the timeline.
No,
he just wanted to be with Sylvie.
Yeah,
that was literally the only thing that he really wanted, was them to do it together in whatever capacity that was. He just wanted them to be together in ruling and doing it their way together, right?
Yes.
But I do think I think that our individual reasonings for deciding what side we will be on, it's all interesting because it's not about ruling the timeline. We made decisions based off of what our feelings were during this whole series. I think, is that safe to say that we kind of
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I enjoyed Loki having that moment where he got locked up and kept getting kicked by Lady Sif, because there was this point where he was literally on his knees and he was like, I get it. I get it. I'm going to be alone. And I really felt bad because in the end, he was alone because Mobius didn't remember him. Hunter B-15 didn't remember him. He lost Sylvie. Yeah. So he was alone. And I think that hurt him more than anything else.
Marcus, you are blowing my mind right now. That's an incredible point. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Yes. And I think the other part of that, and I think that's where that's the battle that I deal with myself internally with this idea of like, it's better to deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't. But people are capable of change.
Yes.
And in a world in which someone has control over your fate and there is only one way for this to go out, I'm not that change. There's no permission to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're right. That moment where he's getting beat up by Lady Sif 1,000 times, like, he's not allowed to have a moment of growth or change or development. He just has to sit there and take it over and over and over and over again. And that is insane.
I mean,
like, that people can't develop that. So that's so hard for me. And that's, again, like Brian said, that's a phenomenal point. And what I do battle with in this scenario of like, where does this all shake out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like it also feeds into this thing of Loki that the entire show is like talking about free will and maybe as we're talking about this is like, like when we're talking about free will, it is liberating and it's great, but it is terrifying that you don't have, you may not have a plan. You may not have a safety net. And I feel like it kind of filters into that. And I also feel like you kind of see that in episode 5, which might be my favorite episode, when they're in the void. Yeah. And you just kind of see how Loki is, he gets so sick of himself that he starts to change in one aspect there. Cause I love that the episode introduced other Lokis and there's other factions of Lokis. And there's this cutaway to him when the president Loki's like, haha, I'm here. And someone's like, well, I'm going to double cross you. Oh, I'm going to double cross you. And he's like, oh, this is the worst. Like, this is who I am. This is awful. Like, clearly.
Yeah.
And he doing that, you're going to be more lonely. You will be more lonely going through that growth because you realize I don't want to be like this group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he gets even lonelier because the classic Loki was like, yeah, I'm gonna help you, and now I'm dead.
But went against the grain of what a traditional Loki was supposed to. And I think that was a moment for him too, like seeing, you don't have to be this thing that people portray you to be.
Right.
And when Mobius originally showed him his whole lifespan and the span of that interrogation, he literally saw that moment happen. Imagine watching your entire life and you think like, I am going to be something great. This TVA is a joke. And it shows you, no, this is how it ends. It's over.
Nah, man, you get choked by Thanos. That's it.
Yeah.
You get choked and killed by Thanos. You can't get bought back. You don't get snapped back.
Yeah.
You get killed, and you didn't accomplish the things that all the backstabbing you didn't accomplish or get you anywhere.
Yeah. To be honest with you, as someone who has struggled with anxiety, playing those memories of your greatest misses over in your head is precisely what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of playing it over and over and over and over again, going like, how do I get out of this? Oh, wait, no, that's just who I am. And you start to feel really, really stuck. And so that's why I see some parallel to this. Even as you all were talking about it, that's kind of striking me now there is this moment where you have so many versions of yourself inside of your head telling you the way things have to be that at some point in time, you have to just be like, I'm so fucking sick of this. I just don't want to do this anymore. And I have to break out of it.
This shit got deep.
That's a really good metaphor, Doug.
And then to play into the fact of like the time of this and and I think about it like in terms of like, how mental health specifically, some things can harm those that are close to you. They're all done out of self-preservation. Or at least in my anxiety was very much out of like, I don't want to be left alone. Like, I don't want to be by myself. So I would tell people what they'd want to hear. And it's just this entire sense of like, and then I would avoid breaking the truth to them, which only gets worse over time. This whole thing was just like as I start to peel this back, I was like, the metaphor here is very interesting for me as like it comes to free will, anxiety and other things. Like, it's just very, very interesting. And again, that's how I interpret it. It could be nothing and how I've experienced it, but you do eventually have to just get sick of the like, these people are the worst, but they're just myself, and I need to.
Doug, that was really vulnerable that you shared that, and I appreciate it. And I that made me connect with this show even more because I feel like that's pretty relatable. It's relatable for me when I've made decisions, and there's definitely a President Brian that's like, haha, and now I've done this, and I'm in the corner like, I'm so sick of this. I just want to do something else now. Like I feel like that's super relatable and really, that was great. That's kind of sitting with me.
Yeah, the ability to evaluate, the ability to that self-checking thing is hard. It's I think that while WandaVision covered grief very well and the stages of grief very well, Loki did this thing where it was like, this is a you versus you thing.
Yes.
It's nobody else's fault except your own. And when you're having that realistic conversation with yourself, that shit gets scary. Because honestly, all the power lies in your hand as of you could have been this, but you decided to be this instead.
Yeah. And I think that's where you kind of see, like with Sylvie, you kind of sympathize with her because she's very scared and she's very like angry, and she just says like, yep, this is, I have to see this through to the end, and this is who I am. But then that realization at the end of like, oh no, like what is happening? Marcus, you are precisely right. Like this dealt with there is no other person to look at. There is no other person to cast doubt on or blame on. You have to own the good parts of yourself. And I think that the one thing that I appreciate about this is it's like you don't just own the bad parts of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You have to own the good parts of yourself as well, which I think is the thing that, especially at the beginning when Mobius is like, you're Loki, this is what you do.
Yeah.
You fuck shit up, basically. Like you go in, you mess stuff up, you get off by Thanos, the end. There's no chance for like love or growth or development or good things for you.
According to other people.
But when you start to define it for yourself, it looks very different. And I really appreciated that message of, like you said, it's you versus you, and there's nobody else out there.
Well, and I feel like a really good like piece to go, a companion piece there is the Lamentus episode. And I feel like when they were interviewing him for all the media, Tom Hiddleston, they were like, what's your favorite episode? He's like, ooh, it's either episode 4 or episode 5. And I get why there is this hype for Lamentus, because actually this would be episode 3 then technically. Anyway, so for Lamentus though, to just keep going with this train of thought, this is the episode that I enjoyed because it was really just like Loki v Loki. Like we haven't really been able to dig into this, and he's like enamored with himself in a way, and you're kind of like, okay, he's like into himself, this tracks. But then you get to the point where you learn like, no, like she had a actually pretty traumatic childhood and was stripped away from her parents, and she's been like basically timeline hopping ever since. So her only understanding of the world is when it's ending. So what does that do to a Loki or a person? And he has all this bright energy, and she's just like, please stop. Like, just let's go home. I don't want to be around you. And I feel like that's just some incredible reflective stuff that you can do with that character. And it's like, oh man, all I could think of was like, what does this look like with like Cap or like Black Widow? Or like, what is this interaction like if these other, like Tony Stark meeting another version of himself? That's all I could keep thinking about. And I was like, man, that could be something, because this is so rich, which then like gets into the finale here of like, the future is so bright for Marvel. I mean, it is blinding.
Well, and this is why I think this show got me hyped for Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is a possibility that we are seeing a V version with Tom Holland. I'm sorry, I got him confused. There were two Tom H names, and I was like, which one am I going to say? But Tom Holland Spider-Man running into other Spider-Mans in different places of their life with different circumstances surrounding them, who they're even romantically involved with, is fascinating to me. Like there's 2 MJs and a Gwen Stacy. One of them is dead. And it's dealing with that sense of self and like having to look that in the mirror. Like that's going to be, if they do that, I know there's rumor like this sort of like, will they, won't they with Spider-Man. If that's the route they go, I'm fucking here for it. Because that character study, that self-character study, a character studying itself is going to be interesting.
Here's the question I got for y'all.
What's that? Okay.
And it was the first thing that I thought of. Well, no, it wasn't the first thing. I'm not going to lie. It was like, I thought about it the day after I watched the finale. What happens when you get what you want? Because Sylvie...
I thought you were talking about like as Marvel fans. I was like, I don't know. I spend a shitload more money. I'll tell you that.
I mean, that Marvel's going to do that every time, regardless, right? But I do think that if you're Sylvie, you go through this whole journey and you get what you want.
Yeah,
you just killed the person responsible for taking you, but now you've opened up. Lord knows what. Is it worth it in the end? Like, you have to imagine she's sitting there after you kill Immortus or whoever this character is, the variant version of Kang, and like, what is going through her mind?
I mean, that's a good question.
I mean, for me, that idea of getting what you want, I mean, she's been fighting this battle since was a young kid. So I think there's always a moment when you've been chasing something for a long time and it finally happens. There's a moment where it doesn't feel real.
Right. When the dog catches the car.
Right. And I think there's a moment where, you know, I'll speak for myself. Like if it was Doug Wagner as Sylvie,
right?
Doug Wagner is going like, holy shit, I finally did it. But then the realization of what doing it means is very slowly starting to set in.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I did it. Oh, I did it. Like, and especially as you're watching the sacred timeline branch off 1,000 different directions, going, that's me that gave everybody their free will back. I mean, free will is the same reason why people can choose that a vaccine doesn't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like free will is a sword that cuts both ways. So there's a part of me that's going like, yeah, they all have free will. What terrible shit are they going to do because they have free will? Like that's what I'm slowly starting to realize. But that's me. If it was me in that role, not her. I do think though there is a moment though that she's been chasing it for such a long time. Not even relief. They talk about this with athletes, like when they finally will win a gold medal, they kind of go, great, now what? Like, I don't even know what to do now. I think that's why vengeance is such always the bad angle, because once you've killed the person you're getting vengeance on, what do you sit back and do then? I mean, Batman says that shit all the time. Like, you don't want to go kill him. They say it in Batman with the one with Jim Carrey. He goes, great, you're going to go kill him. Then who are you going to kill? Great. Then after that, who is it? And you'll keep going and killing and running and killing, and you'll never feel good about it. Like, until you do something real.
I think that's a spectacular meditation on it. I don't have a ton to add. I think, I mean, I feel like for Sylvie, like, I have to imagine, if I'm going to go from a production standpoint, I feel like we're going to see her again. It wouldn't surprise me if she is trying to right wrongs. Like, I feel like you have that drive to just fix this thing that was wrong. So maybe she's just timeline hopping and trying to fix wrongs. Maybe. If it were me, I'm not going to lie. Like, if this is the goal I have been going for a while, I would like some time off. I'd like to go to a branch timeline where everything's like a nice Caribbean island and there's no conflict. And it's like, everyone just is chill here. And I would rest and hang out. That's just me. I don't feel like Sylvie's going to be that way. But that's kind of where I see her character going, is like, I still want to right these wrongs and I don't know how to do it. And it's probably going to be really messy. That's how
it's going to be the one who tells her, yeah, you were mad about one TVA. You just created like 60 of them. So like, who do you think's the one who tells her like, there's a lot more now.
Do what you did 60 times.
Yeah, deal with that how you want to.
We'll
be over here.
How do you feel about that, Marcus? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
On my question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here it's a hard thought. We were just having a deep conversation, and I think when I do it,
right,
and I'm thinking of what's next, just like Doug said.
Yep.
I like you achieve this goal. For me personally, my thing is always, okay, what's next? It's the next thing.
Sure.
There isn't a lot of time for the celebratory, like give yourself props and all that kind of stuff like that, because the next goal needs to be accomplished. Right. Also, if I'm thinking from Sylvie's perspective, and this is all foreshadowing, right? If I'm thinking from Sylvie's perspective, I pushed away Loki, the person that I did care about, to make this move. What does this do for me now? Because I found somebody that I actually trusted and cared about, caused chaos, and now I'm here by myself as well, which is something I didn't want either. Both of them didn't want to be alone. She lost her family. She's been alone this entire time. Now they're both alone after having this damn near breakthrough. Was it, I guess my question as Sylvie would be, was it worth it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah.
So I don't know. It got deep, but I do like Marvel's series run. I like the idea of 8 episodes. I like the idea of releasing on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that is so manageable.
It's realistic, and it gave me something to look forward to in the middle of the week.
Yes.
I don't recommend everybody doing this shit, because you have to have something compelling in order to keep my attention from week to week.
And I like the 6. The 6-episode format was.
Oh my gosh, that was refreshing.
It was nice. Like it didn't feel drawn out, unnecessarily drawn out. It felt like, yep, this is paced exactly as we need it to be.
And it also like kept my hype for it. Like I didn't have to worry about I didn't have to worry about a whole season because I'm kind of going through that with the Bad Batch right now on Star Wars on Disney Plus. If I'm being totally candid, I'm losing a little interest because I'm like, we got like 8 more of these. Maybe I'll tune in like a few weeks because like it's the hype. Like it's just the energy isn't there for me every week for that type of show, knowing there's 10 more episodes. And with Loki, it's like, nah, if you're not doing this, you're gonna miss you're gonna miss it. And
it's also not hard for you to catch up. There's 6 of them. Like if you get behind, you'll just watch 2.
Yeah,
enjoy.
Exactly.
Like I like that so much more. And I also, if you're going to shorten your episodes, but they're going to be higher quality, I'm here for that 100% every time. Like I'm not going to be upset about that.
I know some people were like, it's an hour though. And I'm like, yeah, like it's an hour. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
An hour of what feels like a Marvel movie. Like it just, I don't know. It just made this series is the introduction to the fucking multiverse, and I just didn't think we would get here so
we got here fast. We got here very fast.
Like the question was, we asked the question on this podcast: what is Marvel going to do to keep our attention for the next 10 years?
Yeah, well, they got
and it's like, well, you figured it the hell out. Like, does Sony get a Spider-Man now? We get a Spider-Man. Everybody gets a Spider-Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it looks like.
It's such an elegant answer to all of these outstanding questions of like, well, is this the timeline or not? Like, is Morbius in the universe or not? And you can just say, yup, like it's an alternate universe. What about Steve and staying in the 40s after Endgame? Wouldn't that break the timeline? No, multiverse, like Kang. Like you can just solve all of it with this. And it's elegant and simple. I do wonder, and we don't need to answer this question, but I really do wonder how they market stuff moving forward because we are all super tuned in.
Yeah.
Someone like, I'll use my mom. I've used my mom as an example previously. She's got no flipping clue what a multiverse is. And if she's like, I want to go see that new Spider-Man movie, like, oh, like I wonder how Marvel, how do you catch people up? Because you're in keep up mode so deep now. I don't know how you do this concisely. I don't know.
Well, Kevin Feige had a meeting about the rules of the multiverse. And so I do think that that's interesting that they're not just going to, I feel like that meeting was, we're not going to throw multiverse at every single thing that we do to explain it and to put boundaries on, like, I mean, scientifically you can't, but like to put boundaries on the multiverse allows them to still make original content. Maybe this is the main timeline and we'll have distinctions of a different timeline. So that was one thing I wanted to slide in there before Doug got his point across, was that they did have a meeting about the rules of the multiverse.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing is you pair that news with they're moving, Disney and Marvel Studios moving away from signing people to like 8, 9, 10-year contracts.
Yeah.
You're signing people short term because essentially they can come in, be committed to a character, and if they decide to move on, they can say multiverse, like it's fine. It's a different same character, same powers, different person. Like it gives them a little bit more like flexibility. So I think
even Don Cheadle's executive producing War Machine, like you get the actors actually being able to develop the characters they've been playing this whole time. That's huge, and it keeps the interest going.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question before we slide this out, and I have one more question. My last question for all of you is: take us 10 years from now.
Okay.
What do you hope? What if you had to create a version, like knowing what we know now after Loki has finished, what do you secretly hope comes up later? Like what MCU, what Marvel story that deals with multiverses would you be super excited to see?
Oh, easy. That's easy. Go ahead. It just slipped my mind. Spider-Man collecting the heroes and the villains. Spider Wars. Is it Spider Wars?
Web Warriors,
where something like this, whichever one where it's Spider-Man having to collect the heroes to fight this big bad or have this war for the worlds. I think that that is the one, because there's this rumor that Tom Holland is now, and we talked about it on here, he's in talks to do his next trilogy.
Yep.
So now they had the first 3, which would be Spider-Man Far From Home. Now the next 3 will cover him like in college or as an older Spider-Man, and then the next 3 will cover him and as an adult. Us watching Tom Holland grow to be this adult Spider-Man, and him being the Robert Downey Jr. of this part of Phase 4, 5, and 6, and it ending with him having to bring everybody together. I think that's in 10 years is kind of the role that is kind of where we go, or Galactus. One or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 2 things for me. I think it's either you get to Incursion, which was an event in which all of the multiverses were collapsing on each other, and basically Earth 200 brought all of their helicarriers to Earth 201 and was like, okay, this is our home now, and like they just duked it out. Everyone's version's duking it out. I feel like that is a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
I do also feel like after we're going through all of this, I do feel like the end point here, I don't see how it's super clean. Like it could be. It can absolutely be clean and it's fine and we move on. But what I feel like is that we're focusing on so many consequences already in the first part of this phase with WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, even Black Widow to an extent. I feel like this phase will have a consequence that ends up either in Battle World or like essentially resetting some things in the timeline. Like I have this gut feeling it's going to pull that way where it's like, oh, we got Battle World because y'all kept messing with the timeline so much. And now we just have all these pieces in one planet and you got to figure it out. I feel like that is a distinct possibility now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian, that's
Good
what
point,
that's my hope. That's what I want.
Okay.
That's kind of what I want to see, to be honest with you.
Secret Wars?
My hope is Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. Oh, that's the one I was talking about. Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I hope that Secret Wars is the end game of this. And I say that because, and I think it's a very distinct possibility. Again, it's way too, this is speculation to the 1000th degree. There's no way that there's any type of certainty with this at all, but you're about to have a Fantastic Four movie in the next couple years where in theory you're introducing Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is the chief villain of Secret Wars because he's the one that's like, all of these timelines, I said, yeah, fuck it. It's Battle World now because I'm a god. Basically,
that's the summary.
Basically, it's Dr. Doom going, I'm a fucking god. This is Battle World now. You all worship me.
Secret Wars 2, technically. Yes.
But it's, I mean, and all the Thors are like his cops, like from all the different timelines, and it's super cool. And I would love to see how they play out. Now, it's gonna be insane. About how that all shakes out. But it would be kind of cool to see in Marvel fashion if they could pull that off. But again, like Brian, like I think this is a good point for you to note and for our listeners to note. Grain of salt this because we are still trying to figure out. We got to get to Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I mean, we got to get to Spider-Man. There's a lot of things that have to shake out. And I think, again, to Marcus's point, we have to learn the rules of this multiverse before anything else comes up. Like, so
for sure.
I think Spider-Man is going to be the movie that answers a lot of questions. And posing a lot of new questions too, right? But I think Spider-Man is the catapult into Multiverse of Madness, where obviously Multiverse of Madness is going to answer the questions that we want on how it works and what it does. Spider-Man is the introduction into us and this main timeline being introduced to the multiverse, because we know it exists. And now the question is, how the hell is everybody about to react to the multiverse and how it operates and being able to access it, and like who can and who can't, and what does Thor think? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole lot to it.
Yeah,
that, completely agree. It's gonna have to be like a text dump. Like, I don't know another way to say it. There is gonna have to be that moment in one of these movies. I assumed it would be in Doctor Strange, but you've convinced me that it could absolutely happen in Spider-Man, because that could be the crux of the movie of like, how do I get back home? Which is, in all three movies.
Yeah.
So, or maybe there is no way home.
Or yeah, exactly. There's no way back. Home is also a metaphor for your old version of reality. Like that reality is deep cut. Moved on.
Well, the rumors around Spider-Man, I don't know if y'all heard, but the rumors around Spider-Man are that Green Goblin, the Sinister Six, all of these villains are going to they die in their timelines. When the multiverse gets revealed, they get bought to Tom Holland's main universe. They don't want to go back to their universe because it means that they obviously would die. Yep. So then Tom Holland has to battle all of them, and that he has to reach out for help across the multiverse. So like that was what the rumor of the plot line is. And I think it's a great introduction to show, hey, we reached out to the old, we got the new, and Sony has their Sinister Six, and every Venom gets his own Spider-Man now, and it's like it just goes from there. So it's I don't know.
Yeah. It's exciting either way. Like, and I think you're right. I think it's Brian. I think it's a Star Wars style scroller that's up. You know, that you have to kind of catch up with. So
seriously,
oh
my gosh, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Or I could very really see Spider-Man starting with this, like the scene from episode 6 where those timelines start branching off. And they cut it and leave it there. Like I could see them doing that and saying, you know, fade to black, wake up to Peter waking up in his bed.
Yeah.
So
for real,
it's gonna be nuts.
Yep, it will be.
And Loki got announced for season 2. For those of you that don't know,
he's coming back.
Exactly.
It's the first show to get renewed as a season 2, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they always said that Falcon could be, but they never released firm like ideas on it.
I think they're really going for the movie.
I think you're right,
based on what they're saying. So that'll be something.
Right. Yep. Gentlemen, great bonus episode. Thank you all for tuning in and to listen to this one. This one should release after, so if you haven't listened to Space Jam yet, go over and do that. As always, catch us on our Patreon to get early access to this bonus episode when it drops. Otherwise, thank you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you all next week.
Yep.
Ooh.